Now, late last month, the South Korean government announced 3 new growth engines to improve the nation's economy. One of them was system semiconductors. To tell us more about this, we have our Ko Roon-hee in the studio for us today. It's a pleasure having you here with us tonight. Let's start off by defining the term system semiconductors. I mean, what type of semiconductors is the government talking about?
Hi, Aram. So let me start by explaining the differences between memory semiconductors and non-memory semiconductors. I'm sure most of the viewers are familiar with memory chips. The purpose of these chips is storing data, and examples include DRAM and NAND flash, which can be mass-produced. South Korea is leading the world's memory chip industry, and data shows that Korean tech giants such as Samsung Electronics and SK hynix accounted for around 75% of the global DRAM revenue as of the third quarter last year. Then there is the non-memory sector, the purpose of which is to process data. Examples include central processing units used in computers, and these components are normally produced in small quantities. In 2018, local companies accounted for only 3.1% of the global market share. System semiconductors, which the government hopes can act as a growth new engine to improve the economy, belong in the non-memory category. So experts refer to system semiconductors as system integrated circuits or system ICs.
Okay, so now we know that the system IC basically means non-memory chips. So why is the South Korean government focusing their efforts on turning this sector into what they are calling a new growth engine?
Sure. So simply put, the system IC industry has a larger market share compared to memory chips. So it's beneficial for Korea to venture into that much bigger market. Let's take a graph that explains this trend. So according to IHS Markit, the global market size of the system IC industry marked around $246.6 billion in 2018, while memory semiconductor field made about $163.8 billion. These markets are expected to continue to grow, and by 2022, the figure for system is expected to stand at $265.9 billion, and memory at $164.9 billion. And another reason behind the push from the government is falling exports in the nation. According to the Trade Ministry, exports have been falling on year for 5 consecutive months, mainly due to a fall in prices and lower demand for memory chips, which account for roughly 20% of total outbound shipments. And since Korea's economy is so reliant on exports, the government needed to come up with some kind of measures to boost the numbers.
Right, so it is a very important task at hand for the government. So what are the government's plans to foster this system IC industry?
So before I get into specific plans, let me first explain 2 technical terms. And one is fabless companies and the other is foundry companies. Fabless companies refer to firms that design and develop semiconductors, but outsource the fabrication of the chips, and Qualcomm is one example. Foundry companies mean semiconductor manufacturers that make chips for third parties, and Samsung Electronics is a foundry company. And the government's specific plans include connecting fabless companies with other firms in need of chips, providing financial support for foundry companies, and creating an ecosystem where fabless and foundry firms can cooperate. The government plans to invest more than $840 million in the industry from 2020 to 2029. I actually had a chance to visit one of the fabless firms in Korea called Nextchip. It designs and develops system semiconductors, processing camera video signals. Recently, it has been focusing on developing advanced driver assistance systems, chips for automotive cameras. These chips can automatically recognize pedestrians and cars driving at high speeds. The chief technology officer at the company has high hopes for the government's plan.
There is a shortage of workers, and chip production costs are also increasing. For this plan to work well, I hope the entire semiconductor ecosystem experiences high-quality growth so that it can stimulate competitiveness for various sectors, including fabless and foundry companies.
Right, so this is, it seems like this ambitious plan is being welcomed by those working in the industry. What are the experts saying?
So I talked to some experts and asked them their thoughts on the plan and how this will affect the local economy. Take a listen.
In the system IC field, it is very important for companies to dominate the market in advance. Therefore, Korea should pay attention to what products related to IT or IoT are developed in the future. And designing semiconductors accordingly is necessary.
In the future, semiconductors might be used in traditional industries, such as agriculture. For instance, agricultural machines can become more digitalized. If semiconductors technology expands to other industries, this will not only create jobs, but also contribute to economic growth.
Well, it does seem like the future is bright for the semiconductor industry, and let's hope it can play a role in improving the country's economy. Thank you very much, Roon-hee, for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.